I cannot believe it. It's finally October, one of the best months of the year if you ask me. I'm definitely more of a summer person, but I gotta admit, October is an amazing time of year. Yes, we do, girl. Obviously, as you can tell by me, I have a slight preference for the more spooky side of life. I mean, look at me and the people I associate with. I feel like a review of a game might take too long, and I don't think I'm going to watch a movie ever again. Huh? Who's that? I don't recall not being lazy and creating new characters. The Gold Bowl? Wait, this could be a sick video idea. Okay, I really want one. How do I get it? You'd be surprised. Anyways, I'd love to try some. Yeah, so I better go prepare. Vivian, hold down the fort. I'll bring you back a piece. What if I go out and record a spooky story for you? Though this trip seems nonchalant, sometimes there's fear to be found in the most unexpected places. Alright, now to get out there. Check this out.
Glad I learned that off screen. Now, it's a bit late to go out today, so I think it's best that we do a bit of preparation. Dangerous things could be ahead.
One of my personal favorite trends in games is horror segments in a game that otherwise isn't scary. They're usually pivotal parts of the game they're in, and I always love the contrast between these moments and the rest of the experience. Today I'll be going over some of my favorite moments like these in games. The only requirement for an area to count for the sake of the video is that it has to be from a game that isn't horror or thriller themed. For instance, BioShock has many great horror moments, but that game's tone is already a lot more on the thriller side, so it won't be counted. Oh, and just be aware, minor mid-game spoilers and a few spooks may be ahead, so proceed with the utmost caution. I think it's only fair to start with what might be the most well-known creepy moment in a non-horror game, Lavender Town from Pokémon. Lavender Town is a pretty eerie little town that comes to you in the middle of an otherwise light-toned game. The citizens of the town seem very out of it, and you can find grieving trainers lamenting the fact that their Pokémons are dead. To proceed past a sleeping Snorlax, you need to get the Pokeflute from a man named Mr. Fuji, who's at the top of the Poke Tower, a giant tower full of gravestones of Pokémon. When you find him, you learn he's trying to calm the soul of Cubone's mother. Now, I never got this far in any Kanto Pokémon games, but knowing the amount of creepypastas and fan projects this game inspires is an amazing phenomenon. Though I'll never get to experience discovering Lavender Town for the first time on my own, I had a similar experience in my own childhood with a different RPG. Super Paper Mario is one of my favorite games ever, and it might as well be the most experimental Mario game ever created. Well, behind.
I'm going to fly for you.
From humor to sorrow to straight up bizarre, this game has it all, and in that list of adjectives is horror. After Mario and Co are straight up killed by Dementio, they're sent to the Mario universe's equivalent to hell, the Underwear. It's mostly pretty abstract down here, which is normal for super standards, but later on in the level you can find a giant river named the River Twigs. You have the option to just pay for a ride across, or even to stay on the surface. However, if you decide to sink down, you find this truly haunting sight. Haphophobia, the fear of being touched or grabbed, is combined with thalassophobia, the fear of the depths of water, for a truly terrifying experience. I remember my younger self fearing being grabbed by the hands and drowned, and this bizarro music that plays adds even more to the discomfort. This section deserves its iconicness.
Of course, you most likely already knew about a lot of those sections. I mean, everyone does. While I will be going over a lot of iconic moments today, I also hope to go over some more less-known moments, or moments that were personal to me. Aha! Here it is, my critic sword. This is where I hid it after Anti-Skulk attacked. Thank God I remembered where it was. Now, while we're not reviewing anything today, we don't technically need it, but it could be good in case of a disaster. You never know what lurks in the woods.
In Super Smash Bros. On N64, when you complete the single-player mode, you're sent to a victory screen. I'm not sure what kid me was expecting, but it definitely wasn't creepy piano music, the black background with the aggressive bright reds and yellows, and the sounds of the numbers being punched in. It all made me a little uneasy as a kid. Definitely not horrifying, but still a little odd. What's a little more creepy than something out of place is something that permanently changes a game. In Halo Combat Evolved, you mostly fight against silly Star Wars-esque aliens that speak gibberish and aren't very bright. During the events of Mission 343 Guilty Spark, Master Chief is looking for the Chief, not the same Chief, in a misty swamp. As he journeys through, his signal leads him to a mysterious lab. Inside are many Covenants stationed, but also the bloodied remains of mutilated Covenants and soldiers. Eventually he finds the helmet of a Spartan with a recording of the Chief and his team journeying inside the lab, only to accidentally release a new mysterious parasitic alien species, the Flood. Oh, wait, hold on, these Flood. The pacing of the scene is very slow and methodical, and you can feel the team slowly lose their composure before being swarmed by the mysterious monsters. Then, as it cuts back to Master Chief, more Flood pile into the room by the truckload, along with the reincarnated corpses of the soldiers who went in with the Chief. From then on, the Flood play a major role in the rest of the campaign, becoming a common enemy type. The Flood also appear in Halo 2, 3, and Wars, but in much more minor capacities, and to much less critical acclaim. I knew of the Flood before I got to this part on my first playthrough, but I have to confess the suspense really won me over, and I truly believe the Flood are some of the greatest villains in any game. They aren't necessarily scary per se, but they definitely change the tone of the game, and their goal of consuming everything in the entire universe until either they or everyone else is wiped out adds some existential dread. Now think of a game that has aliens, projectiles, and existential dread. If you said anything except Pikmin, your brain's not rotted enough. Pikmin is definitely a series that has a lot of tense moments. A lot of the creatures on PNF 404 can wipe out your Pikmin fast, and the entire series is about multitasking and strategizing under a strict time limit. While this is very fun, none of the time limits are too imposing. You're probably not going to run out of days in Pikmin 1 or 3, and in 2 and 4, all you need to worry about is having your Pikmin with you at the end of the day. Or at least that's true in every area but one. The Sunken Palace is honestly so brilliant. It's all about using your limited amount of Pikmin and the bulb min you find along the way to try and bring back as many treasures to your ship under an invisible timer. During the exploration phase, you'll have to fight powerful monsters that are not blue Pikmin friendly while some extremely unnerving music plays. But, when you run out of time, the Water Wraith falls down and starts chasing you, steamrolling any Pikmin it can find. It's an ethereal being trapped between dimensions according to Olimar, and it's such a great way of making the player panic. I personally was destroyed by this guy. I did not get every treasure on my first trip down. Pikmin 4 actually has something similar, but it's a spoiler, and since it's a modern game, I'll give a timestamp and 5 seconds to skip ahead if you don't want to see it. Okay, so Pikmin 4 has a version of the Sunken Palace too. It's a really cool section and a great reference, but it kinda loses the fear factor since Ochi is so overpowered. They use the Water Wraith for cool things later on, and I'm pretty glad he's in the game.
Well, I've packed my supplies, I've got my sword, I'm ready for the big day tomorrow. Now all I need is a good night's rest. And what could help us wind down better than scary stories around the campfire? And what could be more scary than old N64 games? I mean, like, seriously, what were they thinking? So, come a little closer. A little closer. Whoa! Oh! Oh!
Since the standards for what was acceptable in a kid's game were so different back in the 90s, developers felt a lot more comfortable putting in genuine horror in their games, and I'm all for it. Well, maybe kid me wasn't, but modern me definitely is. Super Mario 64 is a game I've been playing ever since a very young age. It was my first 3D Mario. Most of 64 has aged weirdly in a way where things that were meant to be innocent are now considered uncanny in the modern day, which just goes to show the range of emotions this game makes people feel. There are 2 things in this game that undeniably spooked a lot of people though. The first one is Unagi the stupid eel. He has 2 stars involving him and both require you to swim near him. He's already kind of freaky, but he's also unreliable, especially in the first star where you have to tempt him away from his hole, and I swear it barely works. In the second star, you have to tempt him out of a different hole. What is this guy's obsession? Anyways, this time he'll actually lunge out at you, which didn't scare younger me because I did not fuck with this eel at all. I ignored him because he was too... ugh. Thank God when the eels came back in Mario Odyssey, they toned down the designs. What the fuck is that thing? The next scary part of Mario 64 is Big Boo's Haunt, which is a genuinely scary level. From the creepy background, the foreboding music, and the constant laughter of the boos, and the secret hidden extra deep boo laugh that I did not like one bit, the piano that jump scares you, the ghost don't die line, it's literally perfect. I used to be extremely on edge whenever I entered this place as a kid, and would usually try and just rush through it and avoid the scary stuff. Nowadays, it's my favorite level in the entire game. It has a perfect atmosphere, and running through a haunted house and being a ghostbuster is so fun. If only I could talk about Luigi's Mansion in this video. It's unfortunately been disqualified for being too Luigi. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is undoubtedly one of the greatest games of all time, and if you disagree, then you're poopy. Ocarina is definitely on the darker side of Zelda games, and is a full-blown story about growing up and losing innocence. The game delivers this message hauntingly well in Kakariko Village. It starts off as a seemingly cutesy little town with a soft and comforting song, but Kakariko slowly turns out to have a much more sinister side. The first hint you get that something is up is when you infiltrate the royal family's grave for the first time, and find two re-deads guarding the royal treasure. I was probably around 14 when I played this game for the first time, and remember being horrified and darting through this tomb, trying my hardest to avoid the re-deads. Much later in the game, you come back to Kakariko Village looking for the Lens of Truth. To find it, you must go through the bottom of the well as a child. In the bottom of the well, you'll find re-deads and Gibdos, flying skulls, and the Dead Hand, a terrifying boss covered in blood that grabs your head and takes a bite of you. All around the well are secret floors you can fall into, bloody torture devices, and a small pit of green liquid with the remains of lifeless hands seemingly clawing their ways out. The bottom of the well breaks the innocence of Kakariko Village and shows that things we may perceive as innocent as kids can actually have sinister undertones. On my very first playthrough, I was so scared of the well that I was actually planning on skipping it entirely, which is extremely hard to do, but just goes to show how scared I was of this section as a kid. A little later into the game, you go through the Shadow Temple, which is essentially the bottom of the well deluxe. It has even more torture devices, creepy enemies, and great set pieces. It's honestly a little underrated in regards to this conversation, and is the final piece that breaks the innocence of all of Hyrule, since this place was once a prison made by the Sheikah for the King of Hyrule. I really adore all of these areas aesthetically and from a lore perspective, and I'm super happy they took the theme of losing innocence and made Majora's Mask all about that, creating one of my all-time favorite games in the process. Speaking of losing innocence, I think it's time to go over one of my other favorite childhood games.
You better get this fat-ass bitch off of my back!
Okay, technically I never played Conker's Bad Fur Day as a kid, but I was hooked on the very concept of it and have fond memories of watching long plays of it. I mean, it was crude, the gameplay looked fun, and it was made by my at the time favorite game company, Rareware. So imagine younger me surprised upon learning about Spooky. I would describe CBFD as a very stressful game, from constantly being chased by things, the extreme fall damage, and the perilous situations Conker gets into. Spooky is what finally takes this stress to the extreme and creates a genuine horror section with jump scares and precise shooting with less than good aiming controls. It starts off in this graveyard section where you have to kill a certain amount of zombies, which is easily cheesable if you just stand on the tombstones, but I personally find it a lot more fun if you play as intended. After that, you finally go to the mansion where you watch a lengthy cutscene parodying Bram Stoker's Dracula. After that, a bunch of angry villagers barge into the mansion, and you're turned into a bat and are tasked with dropping villagers into a grinder. Once you find and drop them all in, Count Bacula falls into the grinder from the weight of the bloody strike, killing him and restoring you to being a squirrel in the process. From there, you're tasked with finding 3 keys to leave the mansion, which wouldn't be a tough task except for the fact the mansion is swarmed by the undead, who are not afraid to take multiple pieces of health off of you. And so you traverse through the mansion, finding keys, which take away your abilities to jump and shoot when you're carrying them, making avoiding zombies even more stressful. There are so many great moments, like when you find zombies feasting on a villager, or when you have to do some actually half-decent platforming to get the 3rd key. This level was extremely scary on my first playthrough, occasionally making me freeze in my tracks because fuck, these zombies are so creepy. Overall, I would say this all leads Spooky to be my favorite chapter in all of CBFD. The next chapter is war-themed, but it also incorporates horror elements itself, which is really cool. Spooky combined with Barn Boy's farm theme gives CBFD a really good fall-time vibe, making it the perfect game to celebrate this season. Also, I've heard Spooky's improved on the Xbox version, but I haven't played it, so I wouldn't know.
Oh no, I'm super late. I forgot to set my alarm last night. Luckily, that red turtle thing showed me a shortcut. Oh, wow. That was such a long journey here. I'm sure that's going to look great in the video. Now, I think Mr. Vile said something about going that way. He's such a nice guy.
The next 2 games I want to talk about are the Mother games, and I'll unfortunately have to be spoiling both Earthbound and Mother 3. That being said, Earthbound's ending is extremely well known, and I barely know anything about Mother 3 except this one thing since I haven't played it yet, but just for all of you guys who want to experience these games blind, skip here. Earthbound has 2 particularly creepy moments I'd like to go over. The first part is when Pooh is praying in the place of emptiness, a cliffside in Dalam. After avoiding being tricked into leaving by illusions, the world fades to black as Moo, the thing, appears. He tells you he's going to break your legs and asks you to accept. You're forced to accept as he breaks your legs, then feeds your arms to the cows, takes your ears, and finally takes your eyes, leaving you completely senseless to nothing but the assumed pain Pooh is going through. Then, Moo finally asks Pooh to accept him taking his mind, leaving Pooh as nothing. After you accept, you're brought back to the real world where you're told by a servant you succeeded in the trial. This moment was genuinely extremely uncomfortable on my first playthrough of Earthbound, since I didn't have it spoiled for me and was one of the most memorable moments of the entire game. The next creepy thing in Earthbound is Gygus, who I have not a lot to say about, other than that he's perfect. You have to travel to the Gygus dimension, a dimension where Gygus clones used to live, until it was taken over by Dr. Eggman Nega and... Wait, what the fuck am I reading? Ness and the gang are forced to leave behind their bodies to go to the Cave of the Past, where they find Gygus, and yeah, this is probably the most unsettling thing in a kid's game. Gygus is so unfathomable to the human mind that his attacks can't even be comprehended, and the entire time he expresses regret and sorrow. It's so brilliantly horrifying. While Mother 3 has nothing as visually scary as Gygus, it has something existentially terrifying, and that's the Absolutely Safe Capsule. The Absolutely Safe Capsule is a machine Porky enters during your fight with him that makes whoever's inside invincible permanently. They can't feel pain, they can't starve or dehydrate, they can't get sick, they can't run away, they are completely and utterly invincible. The problem is that once you enter, you can't exit. You are completely trapped inside for the rest of eternity, with only a small window peeking out to the rest of the world. The Absolutely Safe Capsule is so strong that it can endure the end of the universe, the end of matter as we know it, and whoever is inside will be completely safe. Porky has essentially, completely, and utterly doomed himself to existing permanently in this small capsule, seeing the world extinguish itself and life disintegrate, witnessing it all as he inevitably descends past insanity into the brand new feelings of despair and hopelessness. It's honestly a horrific concept, and it genuinely gives me anxiety thinking about that worse-than-death fate that nobody would deserve. This might actually top Gygus as the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in a kid's game, or maybe any game. And next is Sonic 2. When he drowns, the music freaks me the fuck out.
Well, that's pretty much every horror section in the game that I know about. Unfortunately, since I'm brainwashed, there's not really anything left to talk about, at least for me. So we'll just have to continue on from here and hope for the best.
Country manners, get your country manners here.
A country manor? How queer! Oh my god, is that Marmalade from the hit indie YouTube channel Syzygy?
Skull Kid, you're just the person I wanted to see. The best thing in the last 50 years of my career just appeared on my desk, and I know you're gonna love it.
50 years? I swear to god, I was like 44 last time.
Do you perchance like the 3D platformer A Hat in Time?
Huh? Oh, I know this. Yes, I do.
I happened to stumble upon a random mansion. It's not mine, but profit's profit. I was originally going to sell the golden candy at the top of the mountain, but alas, I couldn't find anything. So I've decided that selling the mansion will do.
That doesn't sound good. What's this mansion you found like?
Well, I'm very glad you asked. This one-of-a-kind haunted mansion could be yours this Halloween for the low price of £2,730,000. Yeah, pounds, not dollars. We go international on the Syzygy channel. Now, how about we take a look at this beautiful country manor? Check out the absolutely wonderful driveway, a dark, icy tunnel, perfect for those cozy Halloween vibes. It even comes with a built-in obstacle course. I'd say it's almost as fun as Fort Knox. Next up is the house itself, and what beautiful architecture, or whatever you call it. I don't know much about houses. In this dark winter wonderland, front doors become pointless as you always get snowed in. Instead, go through this not at all creepy and suspicious door to the basement. Yes, it's completely flooded, what do you want from me? It's a haunted house. The ground floor has this beautiful design and uh-oh, that sounds like the roommate that this lovely place comes with. That's right, this manor comes with a free roommate who doesn't even pay rent. She may be scary as shit, but I'm sure you'll get along great. I wasn't able to beat this level until I was about 11. Nah, that's a lie, I beat it while making this bit for the video. Lots of places to store things, like how we store this key in the fridge, and also a key in a book. A home invader would never expect you to hide your keys here, so it's perfect. Next we have the upstairs space. Wow, I wonder who Vanessa is talking about in these diary entries. It's not like there's only one other fleshed out character in this whole area. What the fuck are you doing in here? The rooms are even decorated with these beautiful icy statues. Oh, and before you ask, I'm not in a rush to sell this property because some people mysteriously went missing after coming here. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. There's a child's room? Maybe there's more to this level than what we initially first thought. Nah, video game developers don't actually develop the random horror levels they put into the middle of their 3D platformers. The big scary misty monster is in the shower. How hilarious. These beautiful bathroom tiles definitely justify the absurd price of this house for sure. Now, let's take a look at the beautiful attic. Some nice boxes that only appear when you wear a specific hat. Speaking of, that reminds me of the best thing about this house. Basically, none of your superpowered hats work here. I'm sure that will make you feel super comfortable while Vanessa is trying to kill you. The final thing we have to show off is this weird hourglass thing. Not really that important. How does Hat Kid get out of the house after getting it? Maybe she jumps out the window. It doesn't really matter to me since I'm trying to pawn off this house, but you know. And that is everything we have to show for this beautiful £3,730,000 house. I think I've put on a pretty good performance to get this thing sold. And to think it only cost me a tenner. Well, are you interested?
No.
What?
I mean, I would, but I already bought a Haunted Mansion.
Oh man.
Yeah, last year I bought Mad Monster Mansion from Banjo to Kazooie for the Halloween special. Sorry. Oh, look at the time! I actually gotta be going, because it's past noon. Okay, bye. What the fuck is that thing? Is that a hat attached to string?
Hey, can I get my hat back?
So, Rose, why are you in a tree?
So I looked at it weird, and I just kind of am on it now.
How the fuck does that happen?
I'm not sure, but I have been playing this game recently. It's called Superliminal, and there's like a really good horror section in it.
Oh no, not this shit again.
Superliminal is a game all about perspective. I don't really know how to explain the game's mechanics, so here, look at this. That's how I ended up in this tree, I think. I'm not sure, I wasn't really paying attention. The basic story plays into this idea of perspective. You're doing this sleep therapy thing to get a new perspective on life. You go through several stages solving puzzles and getting to see how this game truly plays with how things look. This is all I can say without going into spoiler territory, so if this has caught your fancy, go away and play it and come back. If you have played it or don't care, then this is what happens. Being the dumb, stupid idiot you are, you wander off the beaten path and end up in a vastly deeper stage of sleep than you should be. Because of all this information, your brain starts to break down and become incredibly paranoid. This is where the segment begins. Now, I've played this game before. I knew there's no threat here. Even with that, you can kind of see I'm still scared to go forward. I'm hesitant. You can see the shakiness in my mouse. It uses so many classic tricks, but brought into this new perspective idea, it just clicks so well. It's so awesome. Oh, well, I hope it's Sunday. It twists your perspective to see things that aren't there at all. Even in simple ways, like this diet trick that I really like, and this chess piece, this little bugger. My all-time favorite part of this section has to be when you walk into this darkness to progress. It has so much tension. And the reveal of what you're meant to do to continue is just cool. I dig it. I mean, look at this. I don't want to go in there. I'm probably gonna get, like, an infection or, like, killed. There's so much I could go over, but I don't want to hog all the time, so I'll just move on. The cherry on top for me is when at the end it reveals how paranoid you were. Because luckily for you, it is Sunday! Eat your beans, you nervous wreck. You need to go back through it all with help from this little guy to see how normal it all looks. And it was the most scared I've ever been in a video game. Almost as scary as when I got lost in this mountain and got stuck in this tree. Speaking of, Kaz, can you help?
Right, the mountain. I'm burning daylight. I gotta go, Rose.
No, wait, Kaz, I'm, okay.
Oh my god, is that an actual human person?
Yeah.
So, did you make it to the top?
Yeah, a weird crocodile told me to go up there, but I kind of got tired and gave up halfway.
At least you tried.
Try as we might, we cannot escape the clutches of the abyss, as death comes for us all.
What the fuck are you talking about?
This reminds me of the time I went to Nico OneShot World.
Did you seriously just put a cutaway gag in my video?
OneShot is a very quiet game about the slow death of a world. The more you meet its inhabitants, the more you find out how their light sources are fading, their crops are wilting, and their lives are slowly dwindling away. This route, everything goes to hell. The world machine deteriorates in a much faster pace, and that allows you to see a different side of the characters you once met. The dichotomy between the initial playthrough and Solstice is so interesting, and one especially haunting instance is with Nico, the main character themselves. In the original run, Nico is rather pleasant, but in Solstice, they learn the futility of their goal. Whether they place the sun back in the tower or not, this world is slowly fading. And it's also debatable whether they would be able to return home, since they got back to the world again. In their plight, Nico blames you. Much as that blame is misplaced, it makes you question whether going through this ordeal wouldn't just make things worse. Nico was plagued by fear of loss, of losing the friends they knew, and of losing any ability to return home. And you are the one that caused that to happen.
Wow, you're really getting into the Halloween spirit.
Oh, I don't even celebrate Halloween. I'm just here for the candy.
Wait,
I mean,
what?
I really like
You don't
candy.
celebrate Halloween? What are you doing in my video?
So my doctor tells me not to use it, but I really like candy.
Be gone!
So I really like yummy in my tummy with candy.
Ah! Oh, I finally made it. We're at the top of the mountain. Oh, thank God. Now, to find that candy. Who's there? Mr. Vile? What are you doing here? A trap? Explain yourself. I saw plenty of people who reached the top and found nothing. What about them? Why am I the target of your raid? What did I ever do to you? The expose on the poop-throwing monkey? Oh yeah, that video was a blast to make. Wait, it was for that? Of all things? Are you sure you're not mad about the poop-throwing monkey thing? I feel like that was a lot worse. I guess if he's going to hurt me, I don't really have a choice. Thank God I brought this thing. You brought this on yourself, man. Ah! Dude, can we just work this out? What if we go trick-or-treating together? What if we share some candy? You truly are a monster! Huh? This for Halloween? Mr. Vile, I was going to let you go anyways, so you can be a reoccurring villain that forces me to watch bad movies. But if you want me to let you go free right now, you have to promise to stop harassing me and my friends and let us celebrate the holidays. Well, I guess he was right about one thing. It was a waste of time to come up this mountain. I made it all the way up just for nothing. Guess it's time I should head home. Wow, it was real after all.
Well, I think we learned something valuable today. Sometimes there's scary stuff in things that seem innocent, and that's okay. It's our job as humans to learn and hopefully be prepared to tackle these situations because life can be full of surprises. Anyways guys, I hope you all have a happy Halloween. Unless you don't celebrate Halloween, I will haunt you for the rest of your life.
Reaches out so far beyond what I can see. How far would I be walking till I reach the end of a path that's to be seen? I would keep thinking, questioning.